We place an obligation on parents for supervision if they don't do it, but importantly also the local education authority, that they get that child within 5 days back into another form of education and supervision. Now, I believe if we take this tough action, then we are sending out a very clear message about what is unacceptable behaviour, but equally it means for all our other children that their education is not going to be disrupted as it has been too often in the past.
How did you fill your time as an idle youth?
Yeah, I had a very strange upbringing in one sense, because some of you know, I played sports all the time. I actually wanted originally to be a professional footballer. Because I was part of an experiment. I went to university at 16, and the first week I was in university I ended up in hospital because I'd hurt my eye playing rugby, as I was telling people on Monday. It was a very great National Health Service in these days. I spent several years going in and out of hospital to get operations, and some of you may not know this, but this is the 1960s and 70s. In my hospital at 9 o'clock in the evening, this is the National Health Service, free at the point of need. At 9 o'clock in the evening, and I was only 17, 18 at that time, they would come round with a tray and serve all the patients with drinks.
Drinks?
Yeah, you could have Guinness, you could have beer. Free beer for all the workers. I mean, achieved in the National Health Service. You may think I came from a very Presbyterian background, came to university in Edinburgh, arrived in university, and I felt, seeing everything around me, the drinking, of course, in the student union, there's a lot of betting and gambling on, all these things happening in the years that you come to university at that time. And I felt like Mark Twain. Mark Twain arrived, and he writes the story of arriving as a young person in the border town of Nevada, the frontier town of Nevada, and finding this place was sort of wild, drinking, gambling, prostitution, everything. And he wrote, "This was no place for a Puritan, and I did not long remain one."
What about the European referendum, and a lot of people feeling that they're not being listened to with their opinions on Europe having been promised to speak out?
Yeah, I mean, if we were making a decision on the euro, which was one of the issues before us in the last 10 years, there would be a referendum. If we had the same constitutional treaty that was abandoned, we said there would be a referendum. But we said before the negotiations took place in Brussels a few months ago that if we secured all our objectives, in other words, there was opt-outs for Britain in a range of areas, then there wouldn't be a need for a referendum. So that's really the argument about a referendum. If it was the euro, we'd have one, but this is not a fundamental change.
Gordon, you spoke about GP surgeries and opening them up in the evenings and weekends. That's great for me because I've got 4 children and work full-time. When is this likely to happen?
We want to move this forward immediately, and we will come forward in the next few weeks as a result of the review by Aridazi, who spoke, as Alan Johnson did, very eloquently and brilliantly to the conference yesterday. We're doing a review of the NHS. One of the priorities is GP hours. First of all, GPs have got to be open at weekends and for longer hours. And I think almost everywhere I go in the country, people say this to me, and I think we can make an advance on that by the decisions we make in the Darcy review in the next few weeks. Then walk-in centres, pharmacies, electronic prescriptions, for example, so that where you go to a GP just to get a prescription, actually that prescription could be electronically given to your pharmacy and you could get it without having to queue up at your GP. So that's one of the big changes. Access to GPs, access to screening, access to cleaner hospitals, all these things, access to checkups where your physical health and preventative health can be one of the great things for the future. Because we built the NHS, because we believe in the NHS, we will now renew the NHS free of charge, accessible to all, personal to people's needs.
Discipline. It's been a very successful 3 months. It's been a very successful conference, and I wondered if in the intimate atmosphere of the conference centre here you wanted to illuminate me on when you felt would be a good time for an election.
Charming as you are, Mariella. I think the first person I would have to talk to is the Queen.
Darn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the Gordon Brown love-in continues. The great leader's enemies are in disarray. Few people here dare to disagree with him. Even Norman Tebbit has declared him the heir to Margaret Thatcher. Of course, you can always count on the Labour left to stir things up. Or can you? In fact, just where is the Labour